Okay, so let's talk about customer service. Have you ever really stopped to think about what makes it great? I mean, not just good once in a while, but consistently, reliably fantastic. Today, we're going to dig into the science and uncover the hidden formula behind what really works.
We've all been there, right? You're playing what I call the service lottery. You walk into a store, say a coffee shop or a big retail chain, and one day, the experience is amazing. But then you go to another branch of the exact same company the next day, and it's a total train wreck. It feels completely random.
And that brings up the million-dollar question that drives both customers and managers crazy. Why is it so darn unpredictable? How can it be so hard to get it right every single time? What's the secret to ending this lottery and just guaranteeing a good experience?
Well, to get to the bottom of this, we have to look at this classic debate that's been going on for decades. Experts have basically been split into two camps, arguing over whether the problem is the person doing the serving or the place where they work.
So on one side, you've got the micro approach. These folks believe it's all about the individual. Just hire friendly, happy people and problem solved. But then you have the macro approach, which argues that no, it's the system that matters, the company's rules, its culture, its training. For the longest time, researchers looked at these two things in total isolation.
And that created a massive blind spot. As a couple of researchers, Liao and Chuang, put it, if you only look at one piece of the puzzle at a time, you have no idea how they actually fit together. You don't know if hiring friendly people really matters if the system they work in is terrible, or vice versa.
So Liao and Chuang decided to do something new. They set up a study to look at both things, the employees and the stores, at the exact same time, to finally connect all the dots. And they didn't just do this in some sterile lab. No, they went into the real world. They studied 25 different restaurants, all part of the same big franchise chain. You know, a place we've all probably been to.
Inside those restaurants, they got data from 257 frontline employees. These are the people actually taking your order and dealing with customers day in and day out. They wanted to understand their personalities and what they thought about their jobs.
And here is the kicker. They also collected feedback from almost 2,000 customers who had just eaten at those very same restaurants. I mean, with that much data, you know the findings are going to be solid.
Now, the fancy name for what they did is a multi-level framework. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple and powerful. It just means you have to look at the person and the place together to see how they combine to create the final outcome. You can't separate them.
So what did they find? Well, the results pointed to this really clear, winning combination. And honestly, some of the things they found and some of the things they didn't find were pretty surprising.
You know, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think about baking a cake. It's the perfect analogy. You can have the absolute best ingredients, organic flour, fancy chocolate, but if your recipe is garbage, you're going to end up with a mess. And the opposite is true too. A world-class recipe is totally useless if you're using sawdust and expired eggs. You need both.
Okay, let's break this down, because this is where it gets really juicy. For the employee, the ingredients, what mattered most was conscientiousness and extroversion. But here's a shocker, agreeableness, just being nice, didn't really move the needle on its own. And for the store, the recipe, a great service climate and employee involvement were huge. But again, surprisingly, things you'd expect to matter, like formal training programs or cash incentives, they didn't have a direct link to better performance. Wild, right?
So let's get specific. The key ingredients, the traits that really mattered in an employee, were conscientiousness, that's being organized, responsible, someone who actually follows through, and extroversion, so being sociable, chatty, and energetic. People with those traits just perform better, period.
And what about the perfect recipe, the store's environment? Two things were critical. First, a strong service climate. That's basically the vibe of the place. It's that shared feeling that management doesn't just talk about great service, they expect it, they support it, and they reward it. And second, employee involvement, which just means trusting your team to solve problems on the spot without needing a manager's permission for everything.
Okay, so here's the most important part. When you get that combination right, the right people working in the right environment, something really powerful happens. It doesn't just make one employee better. It actually scales up and transforms the entire business.
It creates this incredible bottom-up effect. You start with that winning combo of person and place. That leads to individual employees just doing a better job more consistently. Then, all those individual great performances add up, and suddenly, the whole store is performing at a high level. And that is what customers actually experience, which leads directly to them being happier and more loyal.
It's a chain reaction.
And the data backed this up completely. They found that a store's overall performance was strongly tied to higher customer satisfaction and higher customer loyalty. But, and this is a really fascinating detail, it wasn't as strongly linked to what customers called service quality. It seems what really matters to us isn't some abstract checklist of quality, but how the experience actually made us feel, and whether it makes us want to come back.
So after all that, what's the real secret sauce? What's the ultimate takeaway that finally helps us win the service lottery?
It's actually this simple. Great service is not an either-or problem. It's not about choosing between hiring good people or building a good system. It is fundamentally a both-and solution. You have to do both, and you have to do them well.
The researchers put it perfectly themselves. They said that having the right employees, the right climate, and the right level of involvement don't just add up, they multiply. Each one makes the other pieces even more powerful. It's a combination that creates something way bigger than the sum of its parts.
So I'll leave you with a thought. The next time you experience truly great service, pause for a second. Try to look past just the friendly person in front of you. Can you see the whole recipe at work? Can you see the signs of the right ingredients being combined with the perfect environment to create something special?